Okay, we're back in action. The Lancers moved in on that nice and easy mission that we read about in the thread. I've got Anti-Cheese along for the ride, and we're doing this live, so just bear with us in terms of reactions and stuff. It might be quite interesting.
Hey audience, you missed me last week due to technical difficulties, but it was absolutely great co-commentating with Foss earlier, and I'm excited to do it again this week.
Yeah, thanks for coming back. It really does help a lot actually having someone along, because I find I just talk myself in circles quite often. As you can see, we've got the Lance here, we've got Lionheart back in his trebuchet, which I forgot to point this out, but you can actually see that he's got the LRM-10 on his arm now instead of the LRM-15. If you wanted to count the missile tubes, you're more than welcome to. We've got Jim's in the Shadowhawk, we've got Screech in our brand new Enforcer. Screech is a brand new pilot, so she's pretty bad. And then Figment is back in the new Commando 1B, which is the large laser version. So yeah, the Lance is getting a lot more powerful.
And also a lot more indebted to Comstar.
Yes, very in debt. So the way I'm looking at things is it's just an easy mission. We're just going to waypoints. So that yellow light over there is our waypoint that we need to get to. We've got this road to cross, get across this river and get up here. And that's pretty much it. We're not expecting any enemies really because, you know, the briefing said there weren't any. So we'll just start moving mechs and see what happens. Move to about here. Let's try not to destroy these buildings. Oh.
The briefing live, what a shocker. So is this mission type 1 that's supported by Battletech, or is this you trying to emulate stuff from Mech HQ?
I'm trying to emulate stuff from Mech HQ, and the main thing really is that event that popped, which said we'd been betrayed, which I had no part in at all. That was some invisible role behind everything that made that happen. So we have no idea what our enemy is going to be because we thought we'd wipe these pirates out. I'm surprised at how many missions Mech HQ is generating for these pirates. All I'm going to do for this first turn is reserve until we see some enemy mechs. Everyone's got a high evasion modifier, so I'm not really too worried about any fire they may send our way. Something over there has jump jets, though.
And something over there is chirping in the background. I believe that's your cat.
My cat is around, yes. This is Haggis, who's sitting next to me. The other cat, Whiskey's not here. And that is a mech we know quite well.
Freisland.
So that's basically... The enemy's now got the war crime rather than us. Just to point it out, it is a scary mech. If you could replace those two MGs with flamers, it would be pretty nasty. The only thing I forgot to point out is actually you can see where ammo is located in the mech. So you can see here that the right torso is where this thing carries its MG ammo, which is what we should be aiming for with cold shots if we want to kill it outright. We might want to try and capture this mech though to give Figment back the mech she's supposed to be piloting rather than the Commando. But it's pretty scary due to the heat, especially with our trebuchet overheating so much, the flamers can cause it to shut down. All the enemy mechs have moved, so I think we're going to open up on this fire starter. I don't think it's really made the AI's done the best move it can with it, because it's only got 2 stacks of evasion here, and it's in the open.
And each stack is worth 5%
yeah.
malice to hit, right?
So if I mouse over here and just do this for a second and use the large laser to show, I can see that I've got a +4 to hit target moves modifier. Can you see that?
I can.
Yeah, I've got a -1 for it being MAR mounted. Apparently this is an accurate weapon, so I get another -1, and then because it's a light mech, all light mechs are at +2 to hit anyway. So if we fire 2 shots at this thing, we're going to reduce how hard it is to hit quite easily. The Commando is actually in range right now to fire at it with everything without moving, and since I get to take the first action next turn, I'm thinking about just doing that, but I might just build up a little bit of a move modifier before I fire, just in case he goes first. I'm not too worried about hitting with these attacks, it's more to strip evasion. We did, yeah, that last mech's in the background there.
So in tabletop, one of the things, one of the key ways that you do damage to pilots is by basically beating them up in melee combat. How do you expect to reliably down this Firestarter's pilot without damaging metal too much?
Really what I want to do is knock it down and then I can make cold shots to the head. It's not ideal because our guy's tactics skill is so low that their cold shots are really bad, but it's the best option I have. The other option is to knock him down twice or get a lucky head hit. It's really all luck based at this point, and I know a lot of people have been kind of saying, oh, you should be going for more head hits, but to be honest, there was a head hit right there. So I don't know if you can see that, but we just stripped all the armor from the head on that Firestarter. And it's down to 16 internal.
Precisely all the armor. Now, was that because HPS Battletech stops damage to a part after the armor is off on a single weapon shot, or what?
I don't think it does, no. I think that was just exactly the amount of damage. Well, let's have a look. The AC5 does 45 damage, and the Firestarter has 45 head armor. So it's exactly enough damage to strip the armor without damaging the internals. What I would really like to do here is fire an indirect LRM shot at it now, so the missiles come down on the head, but I don't think there's anywhere I can go where I don't have line of sight on it. No. We'll get up here so we get a slight bonus to hit. We need to kill this Firestarter no matter what, but if we get another head hit, it's looking really good. So just to point it out, because I'm on top of this little hill here... Oh no, it's on a hill too, so I don't get the bonus to hit. But we'll take the shot. Unfortunately, we didn't get any more head hits, but he is unsteady.
So we can knock him over and then down the pilot that way.
I think the question I need to ask myself now is it worth firing an AC-10 shot at this guy, considering we've only got 8 rounds for it, or do I just fire the medium laser, the heavy laser, large laser? There we go. Well,
the AC-10 is a weapon with range overlap with that large laser, and if he's close to being knocked down, then even if we don't get the mech, the salvage from that will be very handy in helping to dig us out of this hole we've voted for.
It would be. The AC-10 probably isn't going to do enough stability damage to knock down this Firestarter on its own, but it will mean that the stability damage will carry on into the next round. I think I'm going to take the shot because the 75% is good enough. Okay, it's a very unhappy Firestarter, but it's not dead yet.
No, but that is one of his flamers taken up for the next round for all the good that does.
Coming in to attack the commando by the looks of it. Ouch. And I hit with both lasers.
On the arm.
The way I play the commando is it can take maybe one attack and then it has to just keep getting under dodge for the rest of the game. So I'm actually going to sprint it up here out of line of sight for next turn. I don't want the mechs that are in the fog of war to fire at it from outside vision range. They're probably going to fire the Enforcer if they've got line of sight on the Enforcer. Okay, they decided to reserve. In that case, we're going to kill the Firestarter. You just get it out of the way. We'll move the Shadowhawk forward, and this rock here should block line of sight. You see the rock?
I do. Frame rate has dropped, but I'm still seeing the necessary bits.
It's not quite blocking line of sight. Very bad chances to hit her. I'll turn off the LRM-5 because I've only got a 15%, but we'll fire with everything else. One SRM hit. We did strip one of the stacks of evasion. And we made him unsteady again, which stripped all of the evasion from him.
It doesn't look like we're going to be able to knock him down, though.
Well, now that he's unsteady, he's lost all of his evasion. Which means a good LRM barrage might just do it. Or I could just...
At this point, though, it seems more likely to just
kill the mech.
Off him.
Yeah. There's not much we can do, really. We've stripped the center torso armor. We've stripped the head armor. We've stripped the left torso armor and the arm. I can't take a cold shot if he's standing up. So really the only choice I have is to just end the mech. And I can't let it get too much closer. The AI has kind of really badly played it. I'm actually just going to alpha strike it. And it survived that, but lost both of its
I honestly did not expect that to live.
So it's still actually a threat because it can death from above, and its legs are, well, its legs are badly damaged but not destroyed. What we'll do is I'm going to get the Enforcer to shoot at it with a large laser, and that should take it out. I'm not going to waste another AC-10 shot, though, because there's still 3 mechs in the background, and we didn't talk about it before, but they're either 3 mediums or 2 mediums and a heavy with the tactical skill. And it's still not dead. It's a very resilient Firestarter.
That's a popsicle.
That was an LRM-5 shot from something. Oh.
A Griffin. So with the commando that you've got off to the side, are you going to plan to use them to flank and make use of the initiative disparity?
I'm going to use the initiative. I mean, he's going to reserve next turn and sit on all those evasion markers until everything else is gone, and then he's going to move first. And that was 2 AC2 shots, I think. So pretty much anything that shoots at the commando is not going to have a very good time hitting it, and it's out of line of sight of most things. So when everything's moved, I'll pop it out. Yeah, I thought the AA might do that. I'm just going to kill this with a punch from the Shadowhawk. Well, that's no salvage at all we're going to get from that fire starter, but...
Well, we can salvage his legs. For all the good that will do.
And I guess our new target is the Griffin, which I'll open up on the trip with the Trebuchet first. The Trebuchet is now running incredibly hot. So I'm just going to fire the LRM-10 to strip an evasion stack. This isn't a Griffin 1N, by the way. It's a Griffin 1S, which is a slightly different variant. So it's got an LRM-5 instead of the LRM-15, or is it LRM-10 on the Griffin? I can't remember. And then it's got a large laser and 2 medium lasers. I think it's a Marek refit.
I think that there was a diversion in the thread about Marek's being keen on large lasers.
Yeah. I think they can produce them, so they've got them all. And they just put them on all their mechs. Or it could just be a field refit.
Well, we've already seen that with the trebuchet we've got going on here.
Yep. One of the things I'm looking to do once we finish this contract is we're going to have to refit our Shadowhawk because it's just not really pulling its weight. Not through its own fault at the moment. It just the default Shadowhawk doesn't have that great weapons. There's another LRM-5 shot from something. And I'm just reserving the commando.
So given that the enemy seems to be pretty heavy on long-range weapons, what's the... okay, Blackjack. That would be the source of the AC-2s from earlier. So how sensible would be closing for a brawl?
Until the Shadowhawk's arm opened, it would be pretty sensible. The problem the AI has, well, the opposing force has, is that they don't have a spotter anymore. So every time I pull back, one of them's going to have to move forward and reveal itself, and I can just focus fire on that target. I was going to take a shot at this Griffin. Actually, before I do that, the Blackjack is the Blackjack BJ1, which is the default, which is the 2 AC2s and 4 medium lasers. And the way AC2s work in this game is they're a lot more formidable than they are in the tabletop. They do the same damage as a medium laser. So it's basically got 6 medium lasers, 2 of which don't generate much heat.
And how much ammo would it have? Because we have run into limitations with the heavier autocannons.
The AC2s carry quite a lot of ammo for them per ton. I cannot tell you off the top of my head exactly what it is, but I don't think I've ever run out of ammo for an autocannon mech that uses AC2s. Just keeping up the fire on this Griffin while I can.
And you were able to shoot his leg through a rock. That's a very impressive shot for a laser.
Well, I just, melted the way of the rock. It's fine. It's not a consistency issue. Right, we're going to hit this guy with both of our LRMs now. So far the AI is not hugely challenging me. Once I fired with the Enforcer, I'm going to pull the Shadowhawk back and probably see if I can block line of sight with one of these rocks. If not, just try and get as far back as I can. And that's going to force the AI to move forward on its turn. It's not going to have line of sight to me anymore. Screech, I think, is going to move around here. She's got a reasonable chance to hit with the laser. I'm not going to use the AC-10 just yet, though. Just to myself, I don't really want to take a hit that's less than 75% chance with it. Just because we have so little ammo.
Awesome, it looks like we might be able to knock this guy down.
Well, the only issue is if I put the Shadowhawk here, I'm losing line of sight to all the enemy mechs, which will force them to move, or I can try for the shot, but I'm not going to be able to do enough stability damage to knock him over, and I don't think I've got... It's just too much of a gamble to try and go for that leg, especially if it needs 45 damage and... Sorry, 55 damage to knock over. So I'm going to jump away, and I'm going to bulwark, and it's his right arm that is damaged, so I'm going to just turn him to face that away from the enemy.
Looking at your loadout on that Shadowhawk, I cannot see the odds being in your favor there, so this seems to be a sensible move.
And there's our last enemy.
The evil twin, or is that... No, that's 2D.
It's a 2D. So there was actually a discussion about this in I can't remember if it was my thread or the Harebrained Scheme thread. The 2D is the upgun Shadowhawk, but to upgun it, they decided to remove most of the armor. And that's not a good thing to happen.
I think we actually encountered some of the problems with different armor levels in display in this game when you were doing the second mission a couple of weeks ago.
So I don't know if you caught that, but Jimum's just got shot in the head with the AC-2, which didn't strip much armor, but he has taken an injury. Now, Jimum's is our only pilot with... Oh no, actually Figment and Jimum's both have an increase to their gut skill, so they have 3 wounds rather than 2, but it's still not nice. I'm just going to move the commando out of range of everybody, but let's take a shot at this Griffin. I want to focus it down before I move on to the other targets.
Ouch.
Okay, so it's reserved. The AI is reserving a lot here. We definitely need to move the trebuchet out of harm's way. If I bring it back here, it does actually have a shot on him. So we're going to do that. Although I am facing my left shoulder towards him, which is a mistake, but I don't think he can see me. And I'm on top of this hill, which means if he comes forward, he won't be able to look up the rise.
No, this looks like the direct fire marker, so I'm pretty sure it can still see you.
No, I've got line of sight on it from the Shadowhawk. From this Shadowhawk here.
Ah, okay.
At least I think I do. So yeah, I forgot to take a look at the 2D. So really the big difference with it is it's got an SRM2 in its center torso, and they've added an extra medium laser to the arm. Which is, I like the second medium laser, I don't like the 2 SRM2s. One interesting thing to note about the Shadowhawk is if you take a head hit, there's an additional component to take a crit slot rather than the pilot, so that SRM2 can take a hit for the pilot sometimes. And same as last turn, I'm going to take a pot shot with the large laser on the Enforcer before I pull the Shadowhawk out.
And that's a bit different to Tabletop, where I think that any head hit has a chance to ding the pilot regardless.
I have had an instance in another game where the Shadowhawk's taken an AC-10 hit to the head and lost all but 1 internal from it, and it seemed like the SRM is what saved the pilot's life. So we'll just move back here, and again we'll face this direction. So you can see how the Shadowhawk was giving me a line of sight there, and now I've moved it back, so they're going to have to move towards me again. And I'm kind of pulling them out of that rocky terrain into the water.
And given that they're not exactly mechs that are prone to overheating in the first place, it's not going to give them much of an advantage.
No. The AI used its focus power there to fire all the weapons from the Shadowhawk with no penalties to hit, and it ignored the guarded status, so I took full damage, which is a bit frustrating. We might need to get the Enforcer to tank for a little bit here. I'm just going to reserve the commando for now. Okay, it's given me the turn. So this Shadowhawk's looking pretty hard to hit with 3 evasion, and it's got cover, so it's at 25% damage reduction. And it's undamaged, so I don't really want to focus on it just yet. I really would like to finish off this Griffin. I can move the Enforcer forward to get line of sight, but it's going to take fire. I can jump it to here actually, and that'll gain me 4 evasion. It's pretty much undamaged, so I think it's going to take the front for a few turns, and it gives me line of sight on the Griffin. Griffin is bulwarked. I'm still going to shoot it, I think, because I've got that open leg. Yeah, and I think I've got a decent chance to hit. Yeah, 280s. I'm going to take 80%. A shot. Oh, and I hit the leg, but didn't destroy it.
You were able to destroy a heatsink, so progress? Question mark?
Now we can get a nice LRM shot, though. If I get up here, I should have a bonus to hit. Yeah.
And that's based off relative elevation, or?
Yeah, so if I just click here and then mouse over, you'll see that I've now got a height difference modifier. It took me a while to work out why the AI was so obsessed with trying to get on top of mountains and hills, but it is because you get a bonus to hit if you're above your target. I can't afford to fire both my weapons here, so I think I can only afford to fire... No, I can fire the LRM-15 on its own and hit, and not overheat. that leg is down to 13 internal structure.
Taking a few dings there from the LRM salvo, but not enough to push it over the edge.
Unfortunately. I'm going to move the Shadowhawk back now, and just take one last shot at it with his full armament. Except probably, well, just the AC5 and the LRM5.
So you were a lot happier to go for that AC5 shot. How often do you usually take those sort of long odds with the ammo weapons?
I've never really run out of ammo for anything lower than an AC10. So AC5s, AC2s, I'm pretty happy just to take Hail Mary shots with. But I would never let myself... I did it a lot with the Urban Mech, but I wouldn't really let myself take less than a 75% on the AC10 if I've only got 1 ton of ammo. The one problem with the Enforcer...
Large laser shot whizzing past the Enforcer there.
One problem with the Enforcer, I think you notice, is the jump and then firing the large laser has really made it heat up. It's a very hot mech. The thing is you're kind of encouraged to jump with it all the time to try and get as much evasion as you can because it's quite slow. It doesn't build up that much evasion just from walking. But you really can't afford to jump and fire the large laser. They just don't work in tandem. Let's keep focusing on this Griffin for now.
Even though he's got jump jets, it seems like a bit of a poor move on the AO's part to spread apart his force so much.
That might be my fault. I mean, fiddling about with the AI, and I've increased its likelihood to try and flank me. So I think it's getting a bit obsessed with trying to flank my units with that Griffin. But the problem is I've got a fantastic position up here on this hill, where it's kind of forced to come round one of the sides as well, unless it can jump. And that the Blackjack, the Shadowhawk, and the Griffin can all jump. Actually, they've all got jump jets. Or is the Shadow? Yeah, the Shadowhawk's got jets. So yeah, they can jump up the hill, although the Blackjack really doesn't want to get too close. Do I want to take a shot with the command? Yeah, we'll bring the command around here and take another shot. I do like how you can move the light mech so far and take shots with them, and one with a long-range weapon like this large laser makes it very useful. Oh, I hit the wrong leg.
At least you hit a leg, or any part of the robot.
Yeah. That was a lot of misses.
And it looked like it actually looked like some of them clipped through the robot there.
They're usually good enough. They'll clip through terrain, but if they miss, they'll generally not. I've never seen them really fly through the mech itself. I think that was more just a perspective thing. One thing to notice, just to point it out, is this Shadowhawk didn't move that turn, and it fired from where it was standing, and it's got the solid shield of 50% damage reduction, so we can tell that this pilot has some mech skills. He's at least got the, is it the Bulwark? Yeah, the Bulwark ability. That means if you don't move and fire, you gain the 50% damage reduction and remove stability, which is pretty... it means if a mech finds a good location to set up, it can be quite scary. An assault mech with that ability gets really, really powerful.
I was just thinking that you were showing off an awesome before, and that's a great artillery platform if you can get line of sight.
Even better, something like an Atlas that can just stand in front of the enemy and take fire with its back to a wall and just shoot every turn and then build up that damage reduction can be very scary to deal with. I can't remember which goon it was I did that against in the beta, but it didn't go very well for him when that started to happen. I really want to jump the Shadowhawk to fire, but it's so open I don't really want to expose it to damage. I want to try and come out of this fight because it's quite a... We're quite closely matched. I want to try and take as little damage as possible. I'm going to come around here and take a shot with the Trebuchet. The problem with the Shadowhawk is because the melee damage is so high, you're really encouraged to get in and punch things with it, but then it loses its armor and you want to sit back with it and not get it shot at, but all it's got is an AC5 and an LRM5. It can't really do a good job from far back.
I suppose that once the game comes out, and that's actually one thing that got announced today, is
yes,
that,
it did.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to playing this myself. But yeah, it seems like with the Mech Lab, you might be encouraged in your own games to sort of modify to suit your particular taste and playstyle there.
Yeah, Definitely, and that's one thing I'm trying to simulate with the Let's Play is you know, we will get the chance to customize these mechs. The problem is it's actually been surprising at how thick and fast the missions have been coming, and it's Mech HQ that's prompting each mission. So every time Mech HQ tells me I need to play a game of Mega Mech, I just play it in this instead. We've barely had time to repair our mechs, never mind refit them.
It takes months to refit a mech, if I recall right.
Yeah.
Did I remember right in that there was actually a contract breach on Comstar's part on the last update?
There is, and that's why we're getting ambushed here.
So it seems to me like, if I'm recalling the rules for the campaign right, if you have a more salvage than you've taken, then that is one breach on your part, but that gets cancelled out by this.
It's definitely going to make things a little bit more reasonable in our favor. We've taken so much salvage that I don't think it's really going to count for a total wipeout of that debt, but it's definitely going to give us some bargaining power. I'm going to reserve the Shadowhawk. No, it's the last mech to go. It can jump to here. I'm just very wary of exposing it to too much fire. This Griffin is tanking a lot of damage here. I'm being a lot more reserved than I normally am. And you've made me actually think about my AC5 ammo, so I'm actually going to turn the gun off for this shot. But I've got a ton of SRM2 ammo and a ton of LRM5 ammo, so I'm going to fire both of those even though the percentages are horrendous. This leg now has 4 internal structure left.
Good God, it's basically a toothpick at this point.
Well, we knocked it. We made it steady. What that means is our commando friend. Now, here's why. Sometimes I make a move where I get really aggressive on a mech that's about to fall down, and put my guys out of position. And the reason I do that is because if I do knock the mech down, it no longer gives the other mech's line of sight. And I don't think I've ever explained that. So some people wonder why. I'm pushing this commando forward here, because I'm hoping to get the knockdown. In fact, that's too far forward, really, if I think about it.
So one other thing you can do here is focus fire on it, and because you are targeting that right quadrant, left quadrant rather, you can focus fire on that leg.
So you can see, if you look up, there's a red barrier showing around this side of the mech to show that that's where my fire is going to hit. Something else that a lot maybe people miss is that it does show you where your incoming fire arcs are. We've got pretty good chances to hit, so I'm not going to use our Fury this turn, or at least for this attack. I say that, and she misses an 80% and a 70%. No, she hit with the 70%, she missed the 80 and the 60s. However, the AI has decided to reserve, which I think means gives us free reign to destroy this Shadowhawk. Oh, that's interesting. This spot that I've put the Enforcer in, it can't actually walk out of, it has to jump. We'll leave that there for now, and we'll move the Shadowhawk first. His left side is open, so we'll turn his right side towards the enemy as much as we can. I am going to take the 80% chance with the AC5 here. That was a head hit, I think.
No, that was a torso hit.
He's down. We got the leg finally. So let me just have a look. Where does the Griffin carry its LRM ammo? It's not in the left torso. It's in the right torso. And its lasers are all on the right arm, yeah. Okay. I'm going to bring the Treb around. Now, if we continue to level up Lionheart's tactic skill, he will stop gaining penalties to make cold shots, which would be quite useful. I can make an LRM barrage here and target this left torso. It will reduce the amount of salvage we can get, but it will hopefully take this mech out, which I want to take because we've been skirmishing with this Griffin for way too long at this point. The other option is I can try and leg it, actually. So I've got a 23% chance to hit the left torso or 12% chance to hit the right leg.
Well, the problem is that the right leg is also relatively fresh.
It's got 4 armor on it and 65 internal structure.
Okay, the odds are a little bit more in your favor then. But it's still a much lower chance to hit compared to just offing that torso and reducing the threat.
I'm going to take the left torso shot. Also, I know in traditional battle tech, this mech would be already be dead for falling over in water. So he's still in one piece. We're going to do a jump. We're going to do a very small jump because I don't want to overheat the Enforcer too much. And hopefully I'll fire a large laser shot at the center torso, and fingers crossed this is the end of the Griffin. Nah, he's still got 21 in that location. The good news is he's stuck going initiative 1, so the other two mechs can't rely on him to stand up and give them vision. Well, they could if the AI reserved, actually. So that's a run with that Shadowhawk. Looks like a run with the Blackjack as well. And now the Griffin's standing up. And the thing is, when you stand up, you get a big penalty to hit. So as long as he doesn't decide to death from above us, I got a bit worried for a second there. We shouldn't have to worry too much. No, that wasn't terrible.
A little bite back, but he's finished.
What I really want to do here is just charge the Shadowhawk over and punch it, but if I do that, it'll expose it to fire from the other two mechs. So what we're going to try and do is I'm going to bring the Commando around to this side. I thought that's too close, really. The other option is to bring it over here. Yeah. It should be far enough away that those other two mechs won't be able to see it as long as we destroy the Griffin this turn. And I'm actually going to use my focus to get basically guaranteed hits. So that's 95 on all of his weapons. It's got 21 armor, so I need to hit with the large laser or the medium laser to get the kill in the center torso. That's it. Griffin's dead. Okay, so now it's 2v4, and we haven't taken too much damage.
Not only that, but they've also got to basically walk into your firing line.
Oof. Okay, the Enforcer's starting to take a little bit too much damage now. I'm going to move it. The problem here is I want to take a bunch of sustained shots on the Shadowhawk to reduce the evasion. But to do that, I'd really want to fire with the Shadowhawk first. However, if I fire with the Shadowhawk first, the Blackjack gets a turn, and it can fire on the Enforcer, which currently has no evasion at all. And is pretty low on armor. It's not terribly low, but I don't think it's a risk worth taking, especially because the arm that has the AC-10 is the one that only has internal structure left on it. So let's play it safe, and we'll move it back to about here. Nope, not quite.
And we certainly do not want to quit the game at this point.
No. I sometimes hit escape to get out of a targeting window and make that, brings up that window. That was a great shot by Screech. But I wasn't relying on her hitting, it was more about stripping that evasion stack.
So the upgun Shadowhawk has less armor. What does that translate to in terms of points versus their own Shadowhawk?
Let's take a look. So the enemy Shadowhawk has 60 center torso armor. Our Shadowhawk carries 115. So it almost has half the armor in the center torso. If you look at the side torsos, they've got 45 armor. Our Shadowhawk normally carries 90 armor in those two side torsos. So its arms have 25 armor, and our Shadowhawk has 80 armor on its arms. So it looks, you know, you expect a Shadowhawk to last a long time, and you think of this Shadowhawk as lasting as long, but once you start shooting at it, it starts to fall apart really quickly.
Certainly the white paper doll signifying full armor is a bit of a mislead.
Yeah, I mean, we've taken quite a lot of fire, and this guy is still not that far off, really, what this guy has even with full armor. Especially those arms. Those arms are really liable to fall off. What we're going to do is, now that he's gone with both of his mechs, I'm going to bring the Shadowhawk around, just to build up a little bit more evasion, and I want to get that right arm protected. I'm a bit worried about his left torso being open, but we'll get the right arm protected. And we'll just take another shots to get that down to 1 evasion, and then we'll fire with the trebuchet. And yeah, I'm going to take the 50% on the AC-5, even though it's probably not advisable. No, we hit with something.
Not perhaps your best. I would like to apologize at this point. I am coming down with a cold, but we're still pushing through. That is not perhaps your best shot, but still tagging it.
It's
Every
really,
little bit counts.
yeah, it's really more about removing that evasion than actually doing damage, which gives an argument for holding back that AC5 ammo, but we're having a lot of problems with heat on the Trebuchet today. Ever since I fired that Alpha Strike right at the start of the mission, it's come back to haunt me. We're also starting to run really low on LRM ammo. We've only got 2 shots for the LRM-15 on its own left.
Which is a bit of a first for this robot.
Yeah.
Mech.
Commando's doing a good job, though. Excuse me, my cat is eating a plant.
Yeah, the utility of light mechs in this game continues to surprise me, especially compared to if you were to put the same commando in traditional BattleTech.
It's a shame we're not in territory that would let me justify using a lot more of Liao mechs, because the Panther is really, really good in this game. Oof.
Now, the Panther is primarily a PPC platform, right?
Yeah, it's a PPC, jump jets, and SRM-4. But is that right? Yeah. But what it really is good at is just sitting at the back, jumping around, and shooting that PPC at people. So here we've got the Shadowhawk has done that thing again where it stood still and taken that damage reduction. Another thing to point out at this point is the pip for stability is a lot further down the scale than... So if I look here, you can see the pip for stability is on the 4th point here, but if I check on the Enforcer, it's on the 2nd. And that just shows that this guy, whoever is piloting this mech, has a much higher pilot skill, so he's much harder to make unsteady, which is another problem with actually knocking him over here. I'm going to have to move the Shadowhawk out of range, though. It's way too close to dying. So we'll just jump it back. And we'll bulwark. We'll brace, sorry.
At this rate, it seems like you can just keep on retreating indefinitely, and he's only going to have one or two mechs able to shoot you at a time.
It's going to turn into a little bit of cat and mouse. The problem is the mechs... I'm running out of mechs to actually move forward with every time. I want to keep shooting at the Shadowhawk for now. And that's pretty much all of his armor gone from it. He's got 3 armor left on that torso and 8 armor left in the center torso. And I think he's got ammo in that side torso. Yeah, there's a ton of LRM ammo and a ton of SRM ammo in that location. So if I get some missiles to pierce through there, we've got a chance of an ammo explosion.
Alternatively, if you get that commando to further flank and attack him from his right side,
that would also work out quite well.
So how are you finding doing this live compared to the post commentary that you were doing before?
I'm a bit worried about if I'm actually making any sense, because I am starting to get quite distracted as to like trying to think of things to say while I'm making decisions. I worry that I make a subpar choice, but it's interesting. It's good to have someone sort of commenting on what's happening at the same time.
I would be worried about things being a little bit subpar because there's always going to be non-optimal play in any game you can think of.
Yeah.
The trick is to be interesting, and what we've got going on here is a running battle as you're doing a fighting retreat into the forest from these... I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing the story reason for why these guys are here in the first place, because if Comstar betrayed you, then this whole storyline where they have this paper-thin excuse for what's going on is going to get interesting.
In inverted commas. Okay, so here I have a really big question to ask myself. Am I going to take the overheat damage to make this shot? Is it worth it? 30 damage. I'll take 5 damage to this arm from overheating.
I mean, if you hit and you get a center torso strike, we can kill this guy outright.
Not quite. I'll do 30 damage and he's got 90 internal structure. So really, I can't do enough damage to do anything serious. I can't even blow this arm off. So I think the better thing to do is brace and cool down.
I apologize, audience. I am I'm streaming this live and a little bit fuzzy on the details.
You gave me the right decision to make, because now the Enforcer's tanking with a ton of evasion and with damage reduction. Who will fire, however, is the Trebuchet, who I think is going to make his last LRM shot of the game. Nope, he gets one more because of heat problems. I'm firing the LRM 10 just so I get more shots, and he'll cool down a bit more.
A few good hits in there, but still a ways to go.
And I'm going to keep pulling the Shadowhawk back, because I don't want Jimmums to go back to the hospital again, even though he's already taken an injury this game. Ooh, 4 of those missiles hit that side torso, and we didn't get a crit. I'm going to move the. I'm going to sprint the commander around this way.
Yeah, and you're going to go for that ammo kill.
Yeah, I'm going to try. I really want to detonate that ammo. The fact there's 2 tons of ammo there gives me such a high chance of a crit. Okay, the AI's decided to reserve.
Okay, so I understand that ammo crits need to happen twice for it to cook off, but what happens when the part is destroyed?
The ammo just kind of disappears. It doesn't carry over, from what I've seen. I have to admit, most of my play was with Beta 1, and this is actually Beta 2, and they did change how ammo explosions work in that, so I can't tell you exactly 100% what happens. We've got enough ammo left for this last shot, and this is the last shot the Trebuchet is going to fire from its LRMs this game. We've got exactly 25 rockets left. So we're firing at totally open locations all over the front of this mech, and the right arm only has 7 armor left. We've also crit the medium laser in the left arm, which gives it a huge accuracy penalty. A second crit will destroy it. And that's that medium laser destroyed, but nothing else.
That is really unfortunate. So it looks like we're going to have to kill him the old-fashioned way.
So who's still left to go? The Shadowhawk. I've got another cat attacking me.
Now, the other thing you could have done here is continue to go upriver and gone towards that waypoint instead of running this fighting battle in the opposite direction.
The main reason... Oh, there we go.
Excellent.
Ammo explosion.
I think this is the first ammo explosion we've actually had in this LP.
I just realized this mech has 2 tons of SRM ammo for 2 SRM2s. It has a second ton in its left torso, and that's what exploded. So if you think that the Shadowhawk 2H is a badly put together robot in terms of the fact that it carries a ton of ammo for an SRM2 and a ton of ammo for an LRM5, the 2H not only has no armor, but carries 3 tons of missile ammo. And it's somehow still alive.
It's a bomb on legs. It should not still be standing.
I'm going to actually sprint this Enforcer back here.
And you've got his good side facing him.
I'm just trying to cool all my mechs down a little bit. When you get into a long fight like this, the heat really does start to build up. We've still got a pristine blackjack to deal with.
So regarding heat, the tactics skill in this gives you a bit of, what is it, heat capacity or shutdown tolerance, or how does that work?
It's the gut skill. So if we take a look at the Shadowhawk here, if I zoom in on him a bit, you see I've already talked about this pip showing when he becomes unstable. And once a mech becomes unstable, just to clarify, it loses all of the evasion it has and any other buffs. So the damage reduction from being bolt braced, for instance, will go. For heat, this pip here shows when the mech starts to overheat. If you go over that line, you start taking internal structure damage in every location every time you go overheat. And if you get to the end of the scale, your mech shuts down. But the higher your gut skill, the further down that pip moves. So I think if we compare the Shadowhawk and the Enforcer, it's not really enough to tell. But Jimmums does have a higher gut skill, so he can tank a little bit more heat than the other mechs. I'm going to hold back the commando, I think. And that's the Shadowhawk gone. So we know it hasn't moved, so even though it's going to have Bulwark again, but we're going to have a really good chance to hit it. So all I'm really worried about is this blackjack still has so many weapons. I'm really concerned about it, actually. Trying to think what the best move here is without losing a mech.
At the moment, I'm looking through the thread, and there's a image or a little GIF that Pop-Tarts posted of a stalker shooting a cloud of LRMs at what looks like a mad dog. And
is that the one where it dumps the ammo?
Yes. No. That's the one where it shoots a whole bunch of missiles that all miss, and I'm starting to feel a little bit of empathy for that one there.
I do have this move here.
Height advantage.
But it exposes the commander to the blackjack.
Now that shield is blinking yellow there. What does that represent?
Which shield where?
The shield on the one on land, close to you. The one that's not the Shadowhawk on the far side.
That I'll get a rear shot on the blackjack. So that shield is a 25% damage reduction because he's in a forest, but that only applies to frontal and side shots. If I shoot him from behind, I do full damage.
And because you've also got that height advantage, you can nail him a little bit easier.
I've probably not got a very good shot. 60% with the large laser. The back armor on that, it's got 30 armor on its rear. The problem is I know for a fact if I move the commando to that spot and take that shot, the blackjack will turn around and shoot it. And the commando can't take 4 medium lasers and 2 AC2s. It'll just fall apart. And I'm only going to have 2 evasion. However, if I don't do that, it's going to shoot the Shadowhawk. And the Shadowhawk's going to fall to pieces. The other option is to try and move the trebuchet forward and convince it to shoot at that. I'm going to try and tank with the trebuchet. So which shoulder is open? To the left shoulder. So I need to turn him like this. That's still not great. This is turning into quite a tricky move. Screw it. Let's see what happens.
So what are you going to do with that wounded Shadowhawk to keep it out of trouble?
I'm going to have to keep just backing it up and using its long-range weapons. If we're lucky, we can take out the Shadowhawk here. We're just below our heat threshold for firing these 3 medium lasers. Nah.
We are not lucky.
Let's see what the blackjack does. It's taking a focus shot, which means it ignores evasion. We might lose the Enforcer's AC-10 here. Yeah. There goes the right torso.
On the bright side, I recall that we have at least a large laser and salvage, and possibly some more parts later on.
I haven't actually tried to salvage the urban mech yet either, and it does have an AC-10 on the wreckage, but I might not be able to recover it. Okay, let's finish this Shadowhawk off, and then we can focus on this blackjack. I'm going to try and punch the blackjack next turn with the Shadowhawk.
So how are you assigning special skills here? Because that Shadowhawk is really making a lot of hay with that defensive skill.
So it actually tells us in the pilot skill JSONs for the game what level they get those piloting skills at. And you get Bulwark at piloting 6, or is it Gut 6?
So it's automatically applied.
I will automatically apply them. Lionheart actually already has a skill which is like a 2 or 3% chance increase to cold shots because he's got Tactics 3. But I just add those in when they come up, but nothing major's happened yet for any of our level ups, so I haven't really been calling attention to it. I'm really
the impression that I got from footage of the earlier beta, the multiplayer one, is that it was sort of a a point system or something along those lines. So it's interesting to see how it's working in practice.
It's going to carry over to the single player as well, because your mech warriors will level up and you'll be able to customize them using those abilities. I've really got myself in a bad position here. I was really hoping to kill the Shadowhawk there. It's still got 70 armor to its center torso. This Blackjack's really going to do a number on me this turn. Okay, the commando took a hit from me. I have to hope that...
It's not too bad on the commander, though. He's doing all right, given that he's a light mech being faced up against all that.
So I had a Hail Mary in my mind. I was going to death from above this Blackjack, and I'm actually one hex too far away from it. Sorry, I'm really struggling to think what I do here. I'm very close to losing 2 mechs, and I don't really want to.
It seems like we could easily end up in another situation where, even though we might have something to hold over Comstar for this, we might still really need them just to keep an operational Landscar.
And that's what I didn't want to happen. This, I have to say, if I wanted to win this game, I probably could have won it like 15 minutes ago. But trying to actually keep your mechs in working condition and win a fight against an equally, at least in sort of tonnage, it's opponent, it's really hard. I think I'm just going to have to be brave here.
What about melee?
I can't.
I realize.
That's the problem. I'm out of range. I was hoping to death from above, and I'm out of range of a melee attack as well. It's because the force reduces your movement speed, so none of my mechs can actually get into melee range, unless the Enforcer can do it. Yeah, I can death from above with the Enforcer.
And he does have the small laser, which is compatible with this.
A small bonus. Let's do it. It's not Battletech without at least 1 death from above.
Really, I just love watching DFAs.
So we hit.
Probably my favorite part of Mech HQ games is rolling a hilly map and getting to kick the heads from one tile above.
Okay. The AI took
the
bait
commando's open
and went for the commando. It means we didn't lose the Shadowhawk. However, the Enforcer's in a bad position now because that leg has 29 internal left. So
we can't do that again, but he is unsteady, and if we have any ballistics left or any missiles...
I'm actually going to sprint the Shadowhawk forward to punch the Blackjack next turn. And then I'm going to bring the Trebuchet forward and stand it in the water to cool down, and it's going to take a shot at the Shadowhawk. Because I really want to finish it off. Down to 46 internal armor. Then I'm going to bring the commando around. Actually, I'm just going to fire the commando from here, and she's going to take a focus shot, which means she ignores his damage reduction. So this will do full damage to the Shadowhawk and hopefully get it away from me.
Still bold, having that exposed core facing all of these guys.
Well, the thing is the commando is going to go first next turn, so I will move it before they get a chance to act. Using that utility that the light mechs are so good for. And just build up a ton of evasion. So now we just have to make it through this next couple of seconds and hope the Blackjack doesn't kill a mech. I'm hoping it shoots at the command. Okay, the Shadowhawk's taking the shot. The Shadowhawk doesn't really have any weapons left. Okay.
And he's going for the trip. Okay, his right torso there is taking a bit of a beating, but so far so good. And it looks like we might be spared having to replace another missile rack.
Nice punch.
Excellent, and a knockdown. Perfect. So next up, are you going to try and go for the head, or?
The problem with a headshot, just to show you, is I have a minus 2% chance to hit it with one weapon. So I have an 80% chance to hit, and then I'll scatter, and I've got a minus 2% chance to hit the head. Is that a minus 2 or 2%? No, sorry, it's a 2%
It looks
chance.
like a minus
No,
2.
it's a 2%. It's a connector. Or I can do a 65 damage melee attack. So I think I'm going to take...
Yeah, that seems like a much smarter choice, especially since it's going to be guaranteed to be concentrated on one part.
And I get the small laser as well. And we missed. No, we didn't. We hit the leg. Small lasers. They always make me laugh. Okay, now we need to decide
Consolation prize.
Now we need to decide what to do with the trebuchet. Does the trebuchet shoot at the blackjack, or does it attack the in fact, it can do a melee attack on the Shadowhawk, which I think is a very good idea.
If you try and take out the Shadowhawk, the blackjack has that penalty from getting up.
Because it's already gone as well, I get a whole other turn.
Yes!
Whew.
Oh, that is such a welcome sight after watching that guy. After we dunked on it hard for being the worst Shadowhawk, it is so welcome to finally see the thing die.
The AI is just death from above. No, it hasn't.
I don't even think that you can really DFA if you have one leg. In fact,
you can't. No, the AI.
In fact, jumping.
Yeah, it'll instantly kill the mech, and the AI. No, this blackjack has both of its legs. But it didn't do death from above. After we threw so much shade at that enforcer, sorry, that Shadowhawk, I'm glad we finally managed to kill it. Okay.
I mean, it would have been really, really humiliating if it managed to take out our Shadowhawk.
I don't know why I just did that. Like, this is a waste of the commander's turn. I should have, because I'm going to punch it first with the Shadowhawk before I'm going to make any other attacks at it. Oh, he's got another focus. Oh, sorry, the cat is about to turn my computer off. It actually has its paw on the power button. Okay, I managed to save it.
I have to admit, that is one creative way to save scum.
Okay, so he's retreated, which is an interesting move. All I can really do is jump after him. I'm just going to fire everything here. That's a head hit. So that's 2. So this pilot has taken 2 head hits now. So that's his 2 injuries used up. Every injury past here, I believe, makes him take a guts check. And if he fails it, he dies.
Awesome. The last time we tried commenting, I was under the impression that it was an automatic death after...
I thought it was the same thing, but I've done some test games, and I had one enemy mech pilot take about 7 injuries, and he only had 2 guts. So it's changed my mind. I've been wrong about that. It just seems to be my pilots that die when they take 2 injuries, not the enemy's pilots.
Now, does the AC-2 have minimum range in this game, or...?
It does. It can still fire, but it gets a big penalty to hit. However, medium lasers don't have a minimum range. Although he just lost one of them. So he's got 1 medium laser with a big hit penalty because of the crit. He's got 1 medium laser normal and the AC-2. The commander's just going to have to move in here, and I think it's going to take a focus shot. Okay.
A focus shot putting you right at the edge of the heat gauge.
Well, that's the center torso open. And another pilot injury. So there's our confirmation, because that pilot definitely only has 2... and there you go. The AI's basically given up here. It couldn't actually find a solution to the problem, so it just ended its turn. That's it dead.
And we hit Captain.
Mission successful.
That got quite stressful.
That was far closer than I thought it was going to be after that early victory,
Yeah.
but I'm very glad to see you managed to pull through without any more losses.
So our biggest issue here, let's actually go into the after action report, because that's quite interesting to talk about. If it loads, because it doesn't look like it's going to load. Okay, it loaded. Phew. So if we have a look at our lance here, we only have one big issue, and that's the loss of the right torso on the Enforcer, because we've lost the AC-10. Everything else is in good condition. We haven't had any crits to destroy any components. The Shadowhawk just needs some armor slapped on it. Trebuchet is in great condition. Commando is doing okay, although it was very close to dying because it had 14 internal structure left. In terms of salvage, unfortunately, Senator Torso destroyed all of those mechs. So we'll probably get one scrap for each of them, or whatever components haven't been destroyed. There's pretty much nothing we can salvage off the Firestarter but its legs. We can take one arm off of that Blackjack and its legs, so we've got an AC2. From the Griffin, we've got that right arm, which has the large laser and the medium lasers. That's about it. And then from the Shadowhawk, just a weird smattering of weapons of what's left on it.
Which seem to describe as loadout to begin with.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad that went. That took a lot longer than I thought it was, so I apologize. I told you that game would take about 20 minutes. It took an hour. But it ended up to be quite a good fight because it was quite close, and I was a bit worried at the start when the AI kind of just threw away that Firestarter, but it played it a lot better with the Griffin, the Shadowhawk, and the Commando. No, the Griffin, the Shadowhawk, and the Blackjack, and it kind of pushed me quite hard. As I said, I probably could have finished that a lot earlier if I hadn't been so keen on preserving my mechs.
Now, I'm happy enough with what I've seen here, but I've got one last question. This was supposed to be just a routine get from A to B, so what are the odds that we are going to need to take our force in with all this damage and possibly just a little bit more armor and some reloads in the near future, because the emissions have been coming in hard and fast?
I think we're going to struggle to get everybody fully repaired before the next mission, and that could cause us some really big problems down the road. But we'll see what happens. It all comes down to what Mech HQ decides to roll. It could even roll us a mission tomorrow, like in-game, and we'd be in big trouble if that was the case. At least all of our mechs can still walk, however, which is a bonus, like an improvement from every other mission we've done pretty much.
Well, it's been awesome doing this, and I really hope that this time our recording works out fine. When do you think the next video might be?
I'll get this one uploaded tonight, and then we'll take it from there. I'll try and do the next sort of bit of mech HQing over lunchtime the next couple of days at work, and then we'll see what happens, hopefully by this weekend.
Sounds awesome. Thank you very much for your time, Frost.
Cool. Thanks for coming along. I'll catch you later, Andy.
Cheers.